Thank you for joining XRO, India's first AR/VR focused podcast. And today I'm delighted to have with me Athena Demos, who is the co-founder and CEO of Big Rock Creative, an award-winning XR experience company with over 20 years of experience producing iconic events, including the LA Burning Man, Decompression, and the Art of Change Ball for the President Obama. Athena has seamlessly transitioned into the metaverse with BRCvr, the official virtual Burning Man experience. Her work has earned top honors such as the Producers Guild Awards for Innovation and the Auggie Awards for Best Social Impact. Athena is also known for impactful social VR projects like Briona's Garden and Pride Has No Borders. She continues to push the boundaries of creative collaboration, XR, and the metaverse. So, Athena, really appreciate you taking time being part of the podcast. Now, you have had a diverse career, from acting to producing large-scale events, and now into virtual reality. What inspired you to take this transition? This leap of faith, from going to 2D flat medium into the beyond, as we say, because immersive tech is like that, where the entire world becomes your canvas.
Actually, I was inspired by the pandemic. We, all of Hollywood, everything shut down and we couldn't shoot anything. And I had to transition. I basically had all this time on my hands. We all did. And I used to be a community organizer for Burning Man. And when COVID hit and I had this time on my hands, we were like, oh, we got to get the community together. And how are we going to do this? We're going to do it in VR. So we got some friends together and put together this project merely as a passion project to bring the community together at a time when we were being separated for our personal safety. And then it really took off. It was very popular and successful. And we had other large companies reach out to us after we did the initial event, asking us to produce things for them. I didn't make a conscious decision to pivot in this direction. The universe made the conscious decision that I was going to pivot in this direction. And we took the ball and ran with it. And our client list is Microsoft, T-Mobile, the United Nations, Google. We've worked with Ubisoft. We've worked with CalArts. We've worked with a lot of institutions to bring their communities together to create content that tells their story. Coming from a Hollywood background, doing documentary film, my business partner and I were both award-winning storytellers. And so we took what we knew and what we were learning and combined it to create social VR immersive documentary storytelling.
How cool is that, Athena? Virtual reality, the transition from going from 2D, social documentary content to virtual reality. What do you think is the difference over there? Because with 2D, the 2D content, the mainstream, way how people interact, virtual reality, though it's immersive, it's experiential, it's got a lot of potential, it's still a very niche kind of technology, and it's not mass adopted. So my first question is, what was the experience, from like going from 2D medium to immersive? What's the transition been like? And what are your thoughts on, even Hollywood per se, because Hollywood is, when it comes to entertainment, Hollywood has been like the leaders, and I think the world kind of follows, what Hollywood does. In India, there's this entertainment industry, which is called Bollywood. We kind of try and ape what's being done in Hollywood. But though, no, I think it's transitioning, things are kind of changing, and we're trying to create things which are like maybe deep rooted in our own culture and, tell stories which is, completely unique. But yes, I think the world completely copies Hollywood. What are your intuit? My second question, what's your intuit regarding Hollywood? Do you see that Hollywood itself is possibly maybe understanding that the world is changing, the consumer habit is changing? And do you think that Hollywood is or would transition from 2D to 3D medium, immersive medium?
That's happening right now. First of all, I was just at a conference last week where their theme was XR is mainstream, that XR is going mainstream, that this is that moment. And the reason they were saying that is one of the reasons was because of Hollywood, because companies like Disney are looking at signing, or they have signed deals with Apple Vision Pro, with other companies, with Meta. Meta's looking at ways in which they can incorporate the IP of these large companies like Disney into virtual worlds in Horizon and also on their app store. So it's happening. Precedent Research, I haven't seen the new numbers for 25, but in 2024, they said there were 600 million active daily users in metaverse worlds. That's a lot of people, 600 million active daily, not, there's 600 million people who have signed up, but they're not there all the time. 600 million active daily users. Now, this includes games, and Hollywood has noticed a shift, a financial shift, in that people are not going to movie theaters that often. They're not even watching subscribed streaming media that often. They are consuming their content through games. And the gaming industry is just completely taken off. In fact, different organizations in Hollywood, like the Producers Guild, which I am a member of, they have started looking at games as a form of entertainment. And of course, it's a form of entertainment, but from the lens of Hollywood. It's no longer, gaming is like this own little pocket. Now, no, producers of games are just as legitimate as producers of a major feature film. In fact, probably more so, because there's more elements involved. It's not passive 2D viewing. You have to take into consideration how your viewer is participating with your content. And I think that participation mindset is what is changing in how we interact and consume content. Nobody really wants the passive viewing. I know so many people that are like, yeah, I'm not scrolling TikTok anymore. I don't want to scroll on Instagram. I want to be interacting. I want to be doing something. I want to be learning. I want to be socializing. I want to do. And that mentality is changing our content consumption and therefore changing our content creation. And the big studios are looking at it. And so those changes are happening. They're in the works right now. I heard announcements about different partnerships that were happening between these tech companies and these studios just last week. And so XR is definitely going mainstream.
Right. I'm so very happy to hear this. I've been invested in XR since the last 10 years. And, every 1 or 2 years, I would think, okay, XR is going to go mainstream because the technology is so potential. The first time when I kind of experienced virtual reality was somewhere in maybe late 2014, early 2015. There was this experience I saw, which was called Giant. I think it was produced by, I'm forgetting the name of the director and the production house. It was such a beautiful experience. The experience was shot in a basement. It was about the Syrian war. There's this family, and there's they're hugging, and there's their daughter who's next to them, and there's these, you can hear that outside there's like a war going on, and every couple of minutes, you can hear that these battle tanks are coming closer to you, and you can hear the hear these sounds, and you see things falling down, and that medium, I think, is the only medium which takes you from just sitting and experiencing something to actually feeling it, to being there, that was the first time when I realized that, oh, wow, this technology is so potential. And this is what I'm talking about. I think it was late 2000, 2014 or early 2015, and this was I experienced it through these Google Cardboard. Yeah, and but that experience left such a mark on me, and from that point of time, I was like a convert, and I said, "This is the future," and yeah, I'm hoping, I'm wishing for that day when I think the world kind of adopts this, because yes, I think entertainment has evolved over the years. It's taken 100 years, go from black and white to technicolor to color to to right now into in these immersive IMAX theaters, but still it's still flat and it's still passive. When this other medium out there, it lets you experience it firsthand, and you are part of it, and you're interacting with it. And so yes, I'm really experienced, and I think you rightfully pointed out, I think the next evolution of entertainment is going to be gamified, and I hope that these big Hollywood companies kind of understand, because you also pointed out that there's around 600 million users who are on Metaverse. So yes, those numbers are growing. I've got like a 10-year-old boy, and I think his peers, all of them, they kind of meet on these social platforms like Robloxes, and that's where they connect. And he's a gamer. He's already creating games, and that's how they interact. And I think these kids are the market, which I'm assuming the brands are going to realize in due course of time, and because brands have to go where the market is, and these guys are the markets. And I'm sure even the entertainment media companies will go where these young people are going, because that's like really shaping up. We caught up at in China, Shanghai, for the VRAR experiment. That's when I kind of experienced your Burning Man virtual reality experience. It was completely surreal, and I'd heard about Burning Man, but I'd never experienced it firsthand. But when you gave me the headset and I kind of experienced it, I felt like I was there. And that's the power of immersive tech. So it will be great to if you could give our viewers an overview of how did this Burning Man VR experience happened, and where can people watch it, and what was the challenges where when you thought about capturing things immersively, Burning Man.
Absolutely. So Burning Man, the event that's in Nevada, is on so many people's wish list that they just have to get there. They're curious about it. They want to know about it. Maybe it's that so far away and they would love to go, and they don't realize that there's all these other events that are happening all over the world that are also Burning Man events. We have the main event, and then we have what we call regional events that happen all over the world. And when I was in China right before I met you, I went to the Chinese regional event outside of Shanghai called Dragon Burn. So what we want to do with what we're creating is teach the world, let the world know that if you are curious, that you can connect to the community on the platform, and then you can also connect to your community in your own backyard. And so what we created back in 2020 was called BRCvr, and it was built on the AltSpace platform that was owned by Microsoft. And we were very successful and had 15,000 people. We did it for 2 years, 3 years. And then Microsoft decided to sunset their platform. And we were like, well, wait, we have like this whole community, and we're doing regular events, and everybody's coming, and it's growing. And so then we started looking for a new home to put everything. But also the world opened back up, and Doug Jacobson, my business partner, went back to Burning Man, and we started filming not in traditional 16:9 format, but with VR formats, 360 and 180 stereoscopic. And so in the filming of this content, we then wanted to mesh the physical footage in with the digital worlds. And we couldn't really find a platform that did that in the way that we needed, with the other functionality we were looking for, with the security that we wanted for artist data. So we took on the task of building our own. And 2 years later, We are on the edge of launching. We just finished our alpha testing and we're going to open up our beta. Probably by the time this recording releases, it will be out. It's now called BRCvr. Burnersphere.com is where you can go to learn more about it. And it's BURNERSPHERE. And it works on the Quest headset, and you could also get it from the Steam store. It'll work on PC and Mac computers. So you can have a 2D interface, but that's still immersive. You're still engaging with other people. You're going on adventures together. One of our teammates jokes and says, just put a blanket over yourself and your monitor and you'll be in this little immersive bubble. I personally prefer being in a VR headset and being completely immersed in the experience. But if you don't have one, we're inclusive. Like, we want you to come participate. We took the time to make sure that it worked on a desktop computer for our launch. And then on our roadmap is all the other headsets. We will get it working on Android XR, which isn't even out yet. And that's the new headset from Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm. We're going to get it working on the Pico headsets, which will be great for the European market because that is where Pico flourishes. We want to meet people at the technology that they have. And there's different headsets that have really taken off in different markets. And we want to get it working on all the different headsets. And it should be fairly simple to do. We want everyone to be able to come and participate, learn about the Burning Man community and all the communities that make up the global Burning Man community so that you can find out about, hey, I live in Spain. Well, guess what? There's a great event and community in Spain. There's a great community in Africa. There's a great community in China, all over the world. And in every state in the United States, almost everyone, there's an event and there's a regional organization. So if you are curious, there is a way to connect to the community and be a part. And we are welcoming and radically inclusive of everyone.
How cool is that? And thank you for sharing the link. I'm sure I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure my listeners, I urge you guys to go through it because I think it was a very, very brilliant experience. Now, Big Rock Creative. What comes next after this? After pushing this out, you're saying this is going to be launched and it's going to be across all the interfaces, and you're also planning to launch on the new Android XR platform and stuff like that. So, what comes next? What's the plan ahead with Big Rock Creative? It will also be great if you could talk a little bit more about Big Rock Creative.
Sure, absolutely. We love social impact projects. We love projects about building community, about social awareness topics. That's why we worked with Microsoft on Brianna's Garden and with her family. The Pride Has No Borders, Blind Burners Project, which we want to pick back up and build those resources into our platform so that BRCvr is more accessible for people that are have vision impairment, maybe hearing impairment, or even mobility impairment, so that we are completely radically inclusive. Our platform is built on a foundation of the 10 principles of Burning Man. So when I talk about radical inclusivity, that is one of the principles. Participation, communal effort, that we work together on things is also a principle, that people can radically express ourselves. We do have on our roadmap that people will be able to build their own worlds and art and add it to the platform. We have this foundation in everything that we do, not just BRCvr, but Big Rock Creative as well. And looking forward, we want to partner with institutions and organizations that want to bring their story to a global audience in an immersive way. We have built an entire tech stack that allows you to have your own metaverse world that is your story. So if a museum is interested in bringing their entire museum, and we'll do it one exhibit at a time, we can do that. And so we've just started talking to a few institutions that we are fans of. that we would like to collaborate with, a communal effort to invite their communities in and grow their community, grow their membership, grow their donor base so that they can do more in the world. And that's what we would like to do with our entire tech stack. So what we built for BRCvr, we can take that and then take the content of the museum, film the museum, maybe film a docent tour, talk to scientists that are working out of that institution, and model out the museum, and then bring video elements in, and then whole classrooms from anywhere in the world. You know, one of my dreams at some point in time, hopefully somebody from the Smithsonian is listening to this, is to bring the Smithsonian museums into the virtual space. So the Smithsonian has their own app on the App Store, and you can visit all the museums. It's difficult for a lot of places to get to Washington, D.C. It's expensive to bring an entire classroom of students to Washington, D.C. to visit those beautiful and glorious museums. And this would be a way to extend the knowledge base that those museums hold to a wider audience. And it's just a matter of sending VR headsets to a school like in South Central LA or the South Side of Chicago, or, you know, or in India. Like, what kids in India or China are going to be coming to DC to see these beautiful museums? And this is a way for them to learn from them. And because it's immersive social VR, they could get together with students from other schools and other places of the world and go on a tour together and meet in live in person, but in VR, with scientists that are there talking about the different exhibits that are there, and learn about the knowledge. I just read an article 2 days ago that the Louvre had to shut down. They shut their doors. The Louvre in Paris, France. It's amazing. But there's so many tourists that are going there that want to see this museum that they just don't have the staff to support it. So if that many people want to go, think of how many people can't go that are trying to make their effort to get there. By having these standalone immersive experiences, it allows people to have these experiences, not, you know, you're not physically there, but it feels like you are. And it allows these institutions to share their collections with a global participatory experience.
Right. So, Athena, what you said, I hope that translates, your vision translates into a reality. I hope some listeners kind of joins in and supports and makes this a reality, because I think what a beautiful world that would be, because I think, a world, I mean, there are so many people around the world. I mean, students, or just general tourists, who want to experience, who want to travel around the world, But then, yes, not everybody happens to be from the affording class. That's one side of the problem. How beautiful it would be if all these museums would commission some agency such as yourself, and which kind of creates the content, which captures all of these museums in its true glory immersively. And that content gets commissioned then to possibly schools and institutions and colleges and tour agents around the world. And there is a growing trend of, even in India, the schools have these hubs where they have virtual reality headsets, and where they can experience, these kind of things. So education itself would be so amazing when just imagine there's students from India or China or US are gathering virtually in a spot and are communicating with each other like they are physically present at one space, and they can see all of these content, whether it's museum or like a place where you want to go. So I think that would be really, really cool, and I hope that kind of translate and really your vision translates and becomes a reality. Now, there has been challenges of monetization because yes, this is new, because of which the ecosystem is not there. And because the ecosystem is not there completely, there is a challenge yet of monetizing this content. What's the problem that you have faced when in this monetization? And do you have some kind of thought, idea on what could be, how we could go about solving this problem, where then, hopefully there'll be like more and more creators, around the world creating content.
That's a great question. Monetization is on everyone's minds. How do we support ourselves? How do we be sustainable? It's a mindset that actually needs to shift with the participant. And again, we need to look at the gaming industry. They've done a really good job at pushing out these games to participants through a monetization plan. So it's buying the game. You can think of that as buying a ticket to go to a movie, or which people really aren't doing anymore, or buying a subscription to go to a gym, a membership. And when you look at museums, they actually already have probably the perfect monetization model in place, because people become members of the museum so that they can go back whenever they want. And that is the model that we're using for BRCvr. People will join and become a member. In the Burning Man culture, when you join a camp, you become a campmate and you pay your camp dues. So that is what we're doing. And then that money is used to pay for all the things that go into making that camp happen. The power grid, the kitchen, whatever the interactivity is, whether it's a stage for performers or a food offering or something like that. So in BRCvr, we're doing the same thing. People pay a membership, you become a campmate. We're going to have a fairly large section of the app that's available for guests to come. It's free and you can explore it. But then we will have a section that is for campmates. And it's $48 a year. It's not very expensive, but that allows us to, as we like to say, keep the lights on and keep the content going and the developers constantly innovating. So that when we build out a museum, you'll join as a member, you can make additional donation, and then there'll be digital goods as well as physical goods that you can purchase and that will get mailed to your home, that will give you a remembrance of that great time that you had at the museum. We can also work with foundations. If you have an organization that is telling a story about climate change, clean water, refugee camps, whatever the story is that you're trying to tell, we're looking for an organization right now that we can partner with to tell the story about the fires that happened recently in Los Angeles. Those types of stories are very powerful to be told in VR. And we would like to tell those stories as well. And again, it can be a membership. You have a foundation. People are joining your foundation, joining your organization. They're making additional donations, and you have gifts or swag that are about your organizations that people can purchase. So those buckets we have built into the foundation of our software so that it fits nicely within the infrastructure that these museums and foundations and organizations already have.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So I think I think in the next few years, Athena, what's going to happen is almost all the big tech companies, they know that we're going to transition from carrying technology to wearing technology, and because of which, I mean, if you see, I think in the next few years, there's going to be like a bunch of head wearable devices, which is going to be launched, right from like maybe the new device from Apple to the new device of Meta to, the the Google, Samsung, Qualcomm glasses that you mentioned, and there's these so many Chinese companies, launching their headsets. There's Sony. There's a bunch of I think some of the biggest big tech companies. They are launching these head wearable devices, augmented reality glasses, virtual reality glasses, mixed reality glasses, and I guess what they will need over there is content, because all of these companies are creating these classes, but what they lack clearly is a content ecosystem. Because even Apple Vision Pro, I mean, if you experience this, there's hardly any content. The Meta Quest has got some content, but Apple Vision Pro hardly has got content. And when Google launches the project Wuhan at the end of the year, again, what the glasses will be out, but what is a glasses if there is no content? So yes, I think the next few years there's going to be like a huge demand for content. And I guess that's when I think creators such as yourself, I mean, and even I've been a creator, in 2016, we actually developed a 16 camera rig, when Google was building like a VR rig and Facebook was building a VR rig. We had built a 16 camera rig, and I direct produced India's first stereoscopic VR horror short film. Yes. And I think, yeah, I think the future is definitely gonna transition from where we take, rather than carrying our phones and computers, we'll be wearing them, and that when you're wearing it, what there's glasses, what we need is content. Now I'm going to play the devil's advocate over here, because there there is like a huge bunch of parents who are saying that this digital overload is like a bad thing, because I myself, I've got like a 10-year-old boy, and I see that, in fact, I told you during the course of the conversation that he spends most of his time virtually online. And here we are saying that, that the same like phone is going to come like really close to your eyes, because that's the it's going to be your phone is going to be your computer, is going to be your glasses. Do you worry about that world where this digital overload could really become like really a problematic? Do you see that happening? Because like from my perspective, I think we are in a very early stage of immersive tech, because we still have to miniaturize technology where we make those glasses possibly as light as this. And for that, obviously, there is a whole lot of computational problem where you stack everything and miniaturize it so that it becomes something as light as this so that we can wear it full day. But with that happening, maybe that there'll be like a convergence of AI and brain computer interface also, where possibly then maybe right now I think we can simulate a sight and sound very, very well. We do that brilliantly with VR, but then maybe we'll be able to also simulate touch, smell, and taste through brain computer interfaces, and then maybe it just gets into the zone where it just becomes extremely addictive. I'm just painting a future scenario. What's your thought on that? I mean, do you kind of worry about that world? And do you think that we need a larger group of people maybe having conversations about this and maybe addressing this to the guys who are developing this headsets, that that there should be some kind of regulation in place and things like that, so that we build these technology keeping in mind of our children growing up, so that we don't make them a complete addict. What are your thoughts on something like that?
So there are two thoughts on this. One is you have to put practices in place. And what I mean by that is at Burning Man, we have fun little things that we say that teach you how to take care of yourself. We say, that we let me think of one of them. We say, that you have to try to think of, they're all kind of adult in nature. So anyway, we have cute things that we say that teach people to take care of their own human bodies, like get enough sleep, eat enough calories, drink enough water, but they're all kind of adult in nature. And but in VR in 2020, we started saying hour in, hour out, hour in, hour out. So that if you spend an hour inside of a virtual space, you have to spend an hour out. So you spend 5 hours in, you have to spend 5 hours out. And we don't mean just out of your headset, we mean out of your house. So we just have to create a culture of these fun ways of saying things to get the kids to follow that example. Like a high five in VR is not the same as a high five outside. Go touch hands or go touch a tree. So it's just creating that as a culture to get people out. What we are creating is the great escape. I'm not going to deny that. When I'm inside of VR, the entire world around me disappears. The banging and construction across the street, I don't even notice. The sirens from emergency vehicles, like all of that is gone when I'm in VR. And I get that it's the great escape and it's fun and you're having a great time and you're socializing with your friends. So I totally get it. One of the most popular apps, third-party apps on the Meta App Store is virtual high school. Kids like hanging out in the halls of a high school, socializing. They simulate classes. I'm like, well, but you're going to school all the time. Why do you want to do it virtually? But it's fun. It's just fun. And it's making school fun. And I think that's the key, is that we're making things that we have to do fun again, so that they're not this, they're not like, oh, I got to go to work. I don't want to go to work. Oh, but I get to do it in VR and it's fun. And we get to, see the project that we're working on in this sort of a Jarvis type of way, Jarvis from Iron Man. So there's that. Being addicted to it. If you have in your makeup that you are going to get addicted to something, you will. So if it's technology versus, say, drugs, I would lean towards technology. You might actually learn something. Drugs are just going to rot your brain. There's not a whole lot of science behind what being in a VR headset does to your vision long-term, to your brain development. They say the VR headsets are for 13 and over for the most part. The ESRB, which is like game ratings, like movie ratings, but for games, say that VR headsets are 13 and over. They say that for two reasons. One, we don't have any science behind what the content does for the developing brain, but there's a lot of science behind using VR to cure people of PTSD, to help people who have had strokes and they're trying to regain mobility. You can use VR for rewiring the brain. So if you're a developing brain, if you're flying in VR, will all of a sudden your brain decide you know how to fly? Like, could we teach humans how to fly? I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe. So, you can learn languages a lot faster by being in a VR headset. There's like all these things that we know from using it on adults. And then the other side of it is when you're under 13, your head is small. And these VR headsets are not built for that. I do demos all over the world. I take a VR headset with me and I go to these conferences, and sometimes there's kids and the parents, and I go to Burning Man events and the parents always want to put their kids in it. Oh, my son wants to do this. Can he do it? There's nothing about our content that is not okay for kids. Like, our content is G-rated. It is absolutely fine. But the headset is for 13 and over. So I always have to tell the parents, just so you know, there's nothing wrong with the content, but the headset is 13 and over. And they're like, no, that's fine. He plays VR all the time. And it's like an 8-year-old. I even put the headset on a 5-year-old, I couldn't make this little girl, I couldn't make the head strap small enough to fit her head. Her mom had to hold it on her face while she had the controllers, and she was running around. She had no problem controlling her avatar. It was second nature to her, 5 years old. And she loved it. She was having a great time. She was giggling. She was laughing. She was interacting with other people that were there as avatars, hanging out with them like she was just a little adult. And she had a great time. 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 5 is the youngest that I've ever put in a headset. And they love it. They absolutely love it. But the headset doesn't really fit a child under the age of 13 for the most part. I mean, there's big kids. And then we just don't know what happens to the developing brain. But it might be a positive. It might be a huge positive. It might be that they're capable of learning content faster in VR and more in depth, and therefore be able to iterate on what they learned more effectively so that they can create inventions that a brand new fuel source. Like, think of all the problems we have with climate change, with fossil fuels, with, how we build, our financial institutions, like all of these things that we have problems with. What if the kids that are in VR now that are learning all this institutional knowledge more intensely actually iterate more effectively than the way we teach them in the classroom, which we know scientifically is completely ineffective?
Completely W, Athena, over there that, I think the world is changing. There will always be pros and cons of any new thing that we innovate and build. And I think virtual reality is one of those tech. It's got so many pros, and it has a few cons. And I think going forward, I'm sure the people who are building it will find solutions for that. You have been in the industry for the longest time. You have won multiple awards, in 2D social content as well as XR. What would be your advice to these new content creators who are thinking about transitioning from 2D to immersive content creation?
The very first thing you need to think about and you need to adjust in your brain is thinking about the participant's experience. UX, user experience, doesn't really play at all in how you design your virtual worlds. It's not how people are going to use it. It's how people are going to participate with it. And when you have a participatory experience, you are engaging your audience. They're no longer spectators. And they are compelled to dive deeper and bring their friends, bring their family. They're going to be inspired to include others in the experience too. And that's ultimately what you want. You want to grow your participant base. Like any museum or foundation or any organization, you want to grow your membership. Any app, you want to grow your membership. You want to grow your subscriber base. You want to grow the number of people that are participating with your content. So stop referring in your language now, right now. You're a 2D creator. In your language, stop referring to your audience as users and refer to them as participants, and watch how your thinking changes. And that's the number one advice I can give people is right now, just adjust your thinking. Just adjust the words that you are using, and you will watch your content change.
Right. I think that's such a important piece of advice. When you think that way, where you think of your users, participants, that Gwala, you've got it. Athena, my last question to you. I think at the most fantastic time, we're sitting in the most fantastic time in human history, because there are some great things happening as well as scary things happening. Because we live in a world where there is geopolitical issues, and there's we sit staring at an existential crisis of sorts when it comes to climate crisis, because of the way we are consuming without conservation. We staring at a global warming. Then there is obviously this race of sorts where the nations and big tech companies are racing towards building this thing called artificial general intelligence, this self-learning technology. And they know that if any of these guys are able to build these kind of technology, it'll give you an undue advantage over the other. In this dynamic world with AI and this XR also kind of converging, what do you think is the future of entertainment going to look like? Because we are already seeing this narrative with these generative AI stack, which does text to image, text to video, text to game design, text to world building. And these large language models and these large reasoning models are now transitioning to agentic models, and where they say that eventually, these models such as Sora and Vio and Kling and Luma would be able to kind of create content, might be able to create full length feature films also. In this world of these dynamics, because there is virtual reality, which is, promising us to take us to a world where we break away from a 2D medium to go into this 3D world, and we won't be just passive observers of the content, we'll be active participants of the content. So fantastic. And there's this other side where AI is coming and saying that, whoa, we're just breaking that this entire dynamic thing, where it was only those few who did those hardcore courses of, direction, production, writing, content creation, editing, sound design. We take all of that away. You just throw in a prompt and you get your full length film. So in this crazy world where we are also saying that this AI automation is going to leave people jobless, creative industry, the creators are going to suffer. What's your intuit like? What do you think holds for the creators for the next few years? And I'm talking about like this like 5 years and beyond. Like paint a picture of this dynamic world and this future of content or entertainment from your perspective.
Also, a question I get asked a lot. It's on everyone's minds. There are going to be full length feature films made with AI. And there's going to be interactive worlds made with AI. We use AI all the time in what we do with BRCvr. But I believe that AI is actually going to make the things that are handmade more valuable. And I can use our Industrial Revolution as an example. And this is the next technological revolution that we're going through now. It used to be at one time, I'm going to use a coffee mug as an example. It used to be at one time, in order to get a mug, you had to acquire clay and mold it and spin it and fire it, or pay somebody who did it by hand. And then came these factories and machines that make these coffee mugs, and you can go to a big store like Walmart or Target or wherever you are. Everybody has these big stores where you can buy a mug for $1. And they're cheap. But you know what? How much do you really care about that mug? You get 6 of them in a box, and you use them, and you chip one and whatever, and you put it in your dishwasher, and this other one chips, and then you throw them away and you get more. And maybe you take it to your kid's school and they make mosaics out of it. You go to a craft fair, you go to like a market, and there's this person, this artist, who still does it the old way of getting clay and molding it with their hands and making a unique design and firing it. And maybe they have this amazing way of making a patina, and that one coffee mug is going to cost you $60, $100, whatever that artist is charging. They have all these designs carved on the outside. And you get that mug, and now it's special to you. You're hand washing it. You're not going to stick that in the dishwasher. You're taking care of it. You're drinking tea out of it. Maybe not coffee because you're afraid it's going to, change the glaze on it, and you care for it. It's not that it has more financial value to you. It has more intrinsic value to you. And if somebody makes something and they gift it to you, you care for it. And so I believe that AI is going to have us care more for those things that are human made and more for those things that are human gifted. And it's going to create more value for that human to human interaction. And we are going to have fast content. AI is going to give us fast content. I hear people say, oh, it democratized art. No, art was always democratized. You put a crayon in a 3-year-old's hand and they're making art, and someone's going to hang it on their fridge. That is democratization of art. We've always had democratization of art. What it democratizes is the understanding and use of technology for bringing our creative ideas to light. And that is what it has done. But if you are going to make it completely by hand, you're going to start seeing books that say, written by only me. Written by only the author. You're going to see coffee mugs that are hand done by the artist, leather workers. Look at fashion. You have clothing that is custom made, or that there are only a few of, or with a specific designer. And then you have the fast fashion of Temu and Shein that just doesn't cost anything, that is making a horrible environmental impact on our world, and people don't value it. It's $10. I wear it once, I throw it away. They don't care. It doesn't have value. So I think AI is going to make us value ourselves and what we are capable of doing with our hands more.
Right. Yeah. So I think, Athena, I double you. I think we're sitting in a fantastic point of time. I also think that, yes, maybe in some ways, AI has completely democratized content creation, because it's given a tool who might have zero understanding of editing or production, just to kind of put in some prompts, some thoughts, and then voila, he or she can create content. So that way, I think maybe obviously, AI is democratized, but I think completely W that I think the world is going to understand that true artists, experts will always have a space, and in that world, because, there's going to be so much synthetic content which is going to be created through these Gen AI. The world will possibly want something which is unique. And I think that uniqueness comes from the heart, comes from the soul, comes from the passion, comes from the pain, which I'm not so very sure whether these machines would be able to do it. I might be wrong, but I'm not so very convinced about it, But no matter what, I think true creators who really are passionate and are creating content from the heart, I think will always have a place. And somehow, over the years, early 1600s, there was these artists, Leonardo da Vinci, and there was in India also, Taj Mahal, so brilliant, so amazing, but somewhere down the line, then you realize that what happened to these artists? Where the hell did they disappear? Because we were never able to replicate those really beautiful or maybe these paintings, somewhere down the line, maybe these industrial revolution or maybe diminished or actual, maybe, what or talent, because, things became so much easier. with maybe this AI, maybe the world being populated with maybe just synthetic content, and maybe when we have more time by ourselves, maybe we humans might just go back and say and spend our time actually creating something and actually creating things with the art. And I hope that we get into that world where artists do get the dues and there'll be brilliant artists, and maybe we'll see a revolution of sorts, maybe content which is completely created from first principles thinking. So Athena, was a complete pleasure talking to you. And I think this future of entertainment is being scripted, and I'm sure there's more people such as yourself who are just joining in, and maybe they'll participate and add those missing pieces and maybe create something really amazingly beautiful. So I'm looking for that, and looking forward for more of your pieces, and yeah, what do you content, the content that you create. More power to you. Really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Thank you, Athena. I really appreciate this. Thank you.